Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I am your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man, and let me just turn up my co-hosts here a little bit, or you were not going to be able to hear them. This is episode 335. We're recording on April 8th. You'll be watching it on the 9th or later. I can't decide if I should post it Thursday or Friday. Probably Thursday. So watching it on the 9th or later. We've got some roadmaps for the rest of the year for some free-to-play games. A game sadly falling by the wayside, but easily predictable that it was going to do so. And then we're going to take a look at Bless Unleashed. We did finally post the first look video as promised last episode. It is now up and available. It is a long one. It's a bit more in-depth than some of the other ones because I felt it warranted it after playing some time. But joining me to go through all of that, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you, sir?
Mike, I am so glad you could take time out from your busy streaming schedule to come in and join us on this.
Yes,
so happy.
Yes, I know. Been streaming lately. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. If you want to come and hang out with us, we'll tell you when and where. Also on the line, it's been about a month or so, Mr. Zach Sharps. How are you, sir?
Well, hello. I'm doing fine. I don't drink beer, so don't have the corona.
I see what you did there. So seriously, before we move on, we haven't talked to you since before like all of this craziness happened. You're safe. You're sound. Your family's safe. Your family sound.
Yeah, I mean, most of my family lives in Washington, but luckily no one's been affected. But I mean, I'm here in North Carolina, and there's a good bit of cases, but I mean, a lot of places are shut down already. And since I live kind of in the, in a financial hub, a lot of people are just working from home. So,
and how
pretty barren.
How are you dealing with being cooped up?
I mean, I'm a gamer, so I mean,
right.
Where's the adjustment?
Right. We've been training for our whole lives for this, gentlemen. All right, Let's slide over and get started with the news. Starting things off here today, we've got some yearly roadmaps for both Dauntless and a little bit of a kind of a roadmap-y, at least for the next few months, plans for Lord of the Rings Online. And then we got an update for Apex Legends, which is a pretty big update, so we're going to cover all three of those. Let's start off, Jason. We'll start off with your favorite, Lord of the Rings Online, your favorite from years ago. I know you always want to throw that addendum in there. Before we get into this, though, like, how looking forward to Amazon's Lord of the Rings game are you?
I can't get really hyped about it until I know, like, literally anything about it.
Right.
Like, I don't even know if it's supposed to be, I don't know what they said, an MMO game or something like that. Like, they haven't clarified whether it's going to be a PvP game or a RPG or, I don't know, a shooter or something. I don't know. Everyone's got Legolas with machine guns or whatever.
I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a shooter. I'm pretty sure we can make that safe assumption. Because it's funny, like, Lord of the Rings online piece got a lot of comments on it.
Well, it got one guy. It got one comment. Oh, my God, that guy.
Yeah, and then somebody chimed in that I won't say, like, I can't say anything, but the email address was interesting. Where it was coming from. So I don't know. Like,
I'm not aware of that.
Are they affiliated or not? I don't know, but we'll see.
Their track record's so abysmal, though.
Yeah,
it's gonna release as an open world survival game with full loot PvP, and then reverse into a non-full loot initiated PvP system, and then it's become a first-person shooter, and then get canceled.
Of course.
And then it'll be a mobile or a card game or a battle royale.
Well, you already got the living card game on Steam. You already got that one. That's available on Steam. I haven't played that.
There was actually a Lord of the Rings MOBA that Perfect World did a while back.
Yep.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, there's a reason you don't remember it.
It kind of faded quick.
How do I not remember that? Yeah. Anyway, Standing Stone Games has published kind of a producer's letter from Rod Ciccolini, I think is the way it's pronounced. Ciccolini, something like that. So we're going to get a couple things later this spring, but mainly the war between the dwarves and the orcs. And then finally, Jason, we are going to have the Aragorn's wedding. So are these big deals at this point in the Lord of the Rings MMORPG? I mean, we've already had Mordor. Like it's done, brother. We did it. The rest of the content is like really kind of picking through some Tolkien stuff that isn't as well known. I mean, Aragorn's wedding is well known because of being in the primary books, but like the dwarves and the orcs war, I don't know if there's a lot of people that like know whether that's a big deal or not as far as the lore goes.
Well, you talk about, okay, we destroyed the ring and now there's a bunch of stuff after. Well, that's kind of how the books were too. Really, and even the movies are going off for like 20 minutes or whatever afterwards. So, but I mean, it makes sense that they have to have that big iconic moment of Aragorn and Arwen's wedding. But then unless they're going to start slinging food around, slinging cake at the wedding or whatever, you got to have something that's actually got action and combat. So they're also doing the dwarves and orcs war. So it makes sense for them to go for something at least until they move on to maybe stuff that comes after the wedding. The scouring of the Shire, all that stuff. So. Yeah, it's a decent enough move for them to go.
Also getting potentially in here, Zach, a small 12-person raid. The War of Three Peaks arrives in the fall, and that's for players of all levels, with a small 12-person raid. There aren't many games that refer to 12 people as small group content anymore.
No.
Even Final Fantasy's like bigger content, right? Is 8 people or full alliance stuff of 24, but that's more on the casual spectrum. Not too many doing 12-person small raids.
Yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings Online, for me, I think 90 hours in the game, and the last time I played it, it's a very charming game, but I feel like most people aren't going to, at least like the vast majority of people who try and play the game, aren't going to make it to endgame to begin with. And I think that's one of the game's core problems, is at least when I played it, it's not very accessible. I mean, I played, had to been 60 to 80 hours in that initial, that character. And I think I only made it to Mines of Moria, and I still had numerous expansions after that. And it's mainly just because the game's pacing is so slow, and it just feels like it takes forever just to get a one level, let alone get through an entire expansion. And it's a shame, because if they produced more small group content, they made it so it was a bit more accelerated to get through those expansions, I think the game could succeed a bit more, and maybe upgrade the engine a little bit too and make it look a little bit more modern. But I feel like at this point they're just milking it, which is why there's not as...
That was like a whole checklist of shit that ain't going to happen.
Exactly. a bunch of stuff that's not going to happen, and it's because I think at this point they kind of see the writing on the wall, and they're just trying to pander to their fan base as much as possible, not necessarily try and grow it. Because, I mean, at this point they really can't grow it without doing drastic changes, and that's not...
It really doesn't help, Jason, that a lot of this still has fees on it too, right?
Yeah,
like it's so many of those expansion packs for the game still to this day require fees. And what we've seen other games do that I really would like Lord of the Rings Online to do is, when you release an expansion, which probably isn't going to happen for this game anymore, at least not a full-blown expansion the way they did like Mines of Moria and stuff like that. The previous content, you got to free some of that up, I think. And like EverQuest does that to a certain extent. We've seen Guild Wars 2 do that to a certain extent as well. Not the entire previous expansion for free, but bits and core pieces of important content being free. Or, buying, if you buy our most recent expansion for $5 extra, we will give you all of the previous expansions, because it doesn't cost them anything to do that at that point. And that's one big problem. You and I have literally talked about that since my days at Game Breaker, where Lord of the Rings Online is a game that I enjoyed playing when I played the base game. And I think maybe I bought the first expansion. And every time they had one of those big super sales, it was always one of those games where I was kind of like, you know what? I might want to shell out $40 and just get all of those expansions at once just to have them and play them. Mm-hmm. But I just never pulled the trigger on it, because for whatever reason, I feel, Jason, like Lord of the Rings Online is an MMO where, yes, all MMOs are better when you're playing with friends. It's almost a necessity for that game, for like the three of us to decide we're going to dive in and play this together. It's almost a necessity for me.
It is a pretty social game, even when we were doing, when I was heavy into it and doing the end game raids and so on. It's felt the guild that I was with there, I felt more connection to than I have probably with any other guild and other games that I've played. So I agree with you on that point. And it's like you were saying, even $40 is still a significant amount of money, even at the discounted rate or whatever. And I think a lot of it is the fact that they, Lord of the Rings Online, along with DDO like a year before, Turbine at the time, they really kind of pioneered the whole free-to-play MMORPG thing in the West. And they had their way of doing it, and they really haven't changed it dramatically in 10 years. They haven't done anything really different from it. You have your Turbine points to buy various things in the game, various packs of content or whatever, spend money on expansions when they come out, and they just have never really updated that model as far as I know. And now they're just kind of being left behind to some degree.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at this and see like how big is it, or did I just make it bigger in my head, Zach? I really didn't. You have Shadows of Angmar, Mines of Moria, Siege of Mirkwood, Rise of Isengard, Riders of Rohan, Helm's Deep, and the Mordor expansion. That's 7. And then you have minus Morgul after that.
Yeah.
So you've got 8 expansions for a game, and the best I can see as far as like pricing, and yeah, you could earn Turbine points in game to a certain extent and buy them with that, but that is just unreasonable when it comes to buying 8 expansions. Or even,
and then there's a sub on top of that.
Yeah, or even 4 expansions if you already had some of them. I am seeing things like certain sites, maybe not great reputable sites, running like 4-packs. Where you're getting some of the Mines of Moria and some of those Riders of Rohan, Isengard, and Mirkwood. But looking at the store itself, here's the store from Standing Stone Games. Here's the Ultimate Fan Bundle, $129.99. $129.99. That's minus Morgul Ultimate Fan Bundle, 250 quests, updated, new instance cluster, and everything. And I don't even know if that includes all of the expansions. Yeah,
that's just the last one.
Yeah. That's just the collector's edition for the last one.
Yeah.
Look, I don't really see a bundle here, Jason.
No, I mean, the only time when you're talking about that 4-pack you're talking about of expansions, that was what you looked at a while back.
Yeah.
When it was on sale on Steam at least, maybe at some other places as well. But yeah, that's what it was. It was those 4 expansions for $40.
If you get the quad pack from Standing Stone, it's still $40. It's still $40.
Well, yeah, but what about the expansions since then? That's the point.
Yeah.
They're still like $20 each or something.
Yeah.
So.
Siege of Mirkwood, $9.99. Mines of Moria, $19.99. Rise of Isengard, $19.99. Riders of Rohan, $19.99. Helm's Deep, $19.99. Mordor Standard, $39.99, and then on up for collector's bundles. Minus Morgul, $39.99, and all up to... That is a huge ask at this point, Zach.
It's a huge ask money-wise and time-wise. Yeah. That's the problem. It's not accessible at all, because financially, you have to go to third-party sites unless you want to spend hundreds of dollars on the game, because you also have to have the subscription if you want to have some of the very good quality of life stuff. And so... I mean, by the time you get into it, you're spending at least like $60 or so. I think I spent like around $40 or $50 or $60, and you might not even make it through all the content you bought because you'll spend tens and tens of hours getting through the base game, and then by the time you get to Mines of Moria, you're inside of a cave for however long, and that's not really a fun experience. They didn't do a great job with that.
Don't even get that was a thing when that expansion first came out. We spent like a year going through that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it's dreadful, and it's literally you're just looking for the light at the end of the tunnel, but the light is just—it's not there. You can't see it.
That's the Balrog. He's all on fire.
Yeah.
So if you're caught up and you have all the expansions and everything, you do have some new stuff coming throughout the next few months as we go into spring and into summer. Then we also have a unique festival coming up that will be kicked off by the wedding of Aragorn and Arwen. So you'll have merriment throughout Middle-earth, and you'll get a new festival and with inside Minas Tirith and stuff like that. So That's cool. They did part ways on this topic with finally, before 2020 is out, the legendary item revamp will be executed with substantial changes coming to the system, though players will still be able to retain their progress. Jason, I know this really doesn't apply to you much anymore, but that was a sticking point for a lot of players for a long time.
That was the sticking point for me.
The item revamp.
And I always said to myself, if they ever fix that, I would probably come back, but we'll see what they do with it. Because when they redid skills, they made it more complex and worse. So don't have the greatest faith that this will be done.
It's a real shame. I mean, I don't think you can look at MMOs and say there's an MMO out there that is more lore-rich than Lord of the Rings Online.
Yep.
Arguably, you might put Elder Scrolls Online in that category now that they're 3 or 4 expansion packs in, with Greymore coming out soon. Arguably, you might try to put Final Fantasy XIV in there because and Warcraft, like the big heavy hitters, right? But there's something unique about all of those that I just said. World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, Final Fantasy XIV. There's either a box purchase or a sub purchase required to get in. Lord of the Rings doesn't require that. But to experience all that stuff, it really does require that. And I'm just amazed not to have seen some, give us $20 and we will give you everything except our current expansion. Like, I don't understand why they haven't at least tried. It costs them nothing. Nobody's buying it now. It's not, well, we'll miss out on the sales that we're getting. I don't know. That's always kind of hurt my heart, because I think it's a lot easier to say, Jason, if I shell out $25 and you shell out 10, we could play this for a while. And Zach, hey, shell out 20. I know you're hurting for an MMO right now. Let's give this one a month or 2 of our time. It's a lot easier when it's like, hey, let's pitch in $20 and play a game for 3 months than it is to, all right, let's play this for 2 months and decide if we want to spend $30. Then play that for 2 months and decide if we want to spend another $30. I don't know.
Yeah. They should also trim the levels like SWTOR did in terms of the time to level.
That, and you're paying for really
meaningful stuff.
You're playing for older, archaic systems by modern MMO standards too. By the way, it is very original WoW classic in its control and tab targeting and all that stuff.
But if there's anything about Lord of the Rings, it's about them journeying across vast open lands for weeks and months or whatever. So you should level up and go run through Rohan like the rest of us had to.
I think the last
full feature of it.
I think the last time we spent 15 minutes talking about Lord of the Rings Online. Look at us. We're good at this.
Want to go another 15?
No. The last time I think I played with you, Jason, when we were doing like a little bomb live or whatever, when we were looking at the Bjorn just being...
I did that alone, I recall. I never played with you.
No, we turned into bears and ran around together. I remember that. Yeah. I remember that.
Together, I don't recall.
Yeah, the only reason I could was because they gave me that whatever.
You might have done it, but we did it separately. I remember streaming. I'm pretty sure I was alone. Anyway, whatever.
We did that together, brother. I mean, you may have done it by yourself too on Bomb Live, but there was definitely some bear togetherness.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings Online. Next up on the roadmap for the rest of the year, Dauntless. And this is a game that I've kind of been keeping an eye on because I do have it installed on my computer and I have it installed on my PlayStation 4 as well. I actually enjoyed it more on the PlayStation 4 as just like a kickback, almost a more casual Monster Hunter console experience. But there are like things about the game that I don't like. I just unequivocally don't like. So I'm always interested to see what Phoenix Labs is going to be changing. And so first off, Zach, we're going to be getting some changes to Ramsgate, the main social hub itself. We're going to find a lot of NPCs moved around to what the devs feel are more ideal locations. And honestly, that should have happened forever ago. Because some of the crafters and quest givers, you have to run through the entire damn place to go get to. Really, all you want to do is pick up a quest or craft an item real quick and then bolt, and you have to, hold on, I got to run through the town. So that's good to see. There's going to be new faces in there as well. We'll have to see what that brings. And then the social experience, probably the worst part about the game, ironically, for a multiplayer game, is being improved, and that includes guilds, friends list, and a lot of other items, which I can't wait for because honestly, it was actually kind of challenging initially. Jason, you and I, this is another one we played together, to actually get into the same group and go do something together. Now, a lot of that has changed since the first look, but I like that they're taking it even a step further going forward this year.
It could be worse. It could be Magic the Gathering Arena.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Dauntless, I played it a decent bit out, I think during open beta, and I found it to be a very all right experience. But something about it, and maybe it's changed a good bit over time where this isn't as much of the case, it just felt way too simplistic to me. Like, you would go in, you kill the monster, you collect the parts, you find what armor sets the best to go face the next monster, and it was just a rinse and repeat. Like, I felt like the monster fights weren't as enticing enough for me to stay and do the grind even more to get that extra part, to build out that gear set to go and kill the next monster. So
now that's fair, but I gotta ask, how far did you get? Because the first
pretty far, up to where you repeat all the monsters. I forget what that was called. What was that called? It was a long time ago.
Yeah, so because you're right. It wasn't when Jason and I really first did, and it was during a beta. I mean, they changed even like some of those orb things. They don't do that anymore with the random lockboxy type stuff. But initially, it is very drab. It's very easy. There's no challenge to it or anything, and that does ramp up substantially. And I ask when you did this too, because they have added more behemoths since some. It
was a long time ago.
Okay,
open beta.
So maybe you wouldn't see as much of the repetition of some of the behemoth models with a different color or a slightly different move set.
Yeah,
like you did at the time. So yeah, looking forward. Jason, a big addition that you and I loved was a bit more of a ranged play with the swinging blade things, because everything was kind of run in, smack, 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 and then everybody rolls out while it does some attack, and then everybody rolls back in. So the initial addition of the swinging glaives on chains I can't remember what they call them, forgive me for that, but that did kind of open up a more ranged gameplay style too, which I think the game sorely needed and still could use some more of.
Yeah.
Perfect. Glad you agree. Awesome. On the other,
I haven't played Dauntless since that open beta either, so it's like it's doing something. But I can agree. I'm surprised. I'm kind of surprised really to see that it has actually kept people's attention. Like even if they've added 2 or 3 more behemoths or whatever it's been, for someone who's going to play 4 or 5 hours a day, that's only going to last so long. So I'm of course they were huge on we have tried to trillion players or whatever, and we're at a game store, and okay, great.
It almost to me feels like they should produce some sort of season system. I'm not sure maybe if they have, but
they do have a hunt pass, yeah.
Okay, well, I more mean like a Path of Exile league, for instance. Maybe I've been playing too much Path of Exile, I don't know. But I just see like an instance where you could go in and drop into the face of Behemoth, and while you're trying to hunt them, there's other features that are within that area as well that you can go out and do. It's just not the monster itself. Kind of adding a bit more Monster Hunter-y components, because in Monster Hunter, you're not just hunting the beast. I mean, you could just dart to the beast, but there's other stuff for you to do as well. And I feel like Dauntless has too much simplicity in that regard as well.
Yeah, it's really hunt the beast and do some gathering is what you can do in there, like different weeds and rocks and materials and stuff like that, with a few side things, but not a ton. The season pass in Dauntless is very, very traditional, like Jason said. It's the free tier and the pay tier, and it's extra rewards and bonus XP and stuff like that. Nothing like the Path of Exile kind of league seasons you're talking about. That might be a nifty idea, actually. Here's a big one. They're optimizing improvements for dodging, so that a pretty important aspect of this game to be more consistent, particularly on less than good internet connections, because that was horrible. If your internet even blipped for a minute and you were just dead, and if you dropped, that was it. Now that you're going to be able to actually rejoin if your internet
I remember
connection
that.
drops. Yeah, you just dropped. You're like, well, shit, I'm back at Ramsgate.
Yep.
We do have also new content on the way, coming in the form of Rogue Elements Hunt Pass and the speaking of the hunt passes, and the Springtide seasonal event, which is actually going to give you alternate hunts where you're hunting eggs and herding creatures rather than just going and killing monsters. So go ahead and get those rewards too. These are good changes, but I've got to ask this key question. We've had Dauntless available for a long time. These feel like changes that to me should have been a while ago at this point, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like nice features, as you laid out, but I don't know. It's a game that I've not really felt enticed to go back to. And I usually give games second shakes, especially if they've been out for a while and maybe I thought it was just an all right game initially. But Dauntless, I don't know. It's just not been on my radar as they've improved enough to really make me want to go back and try it again. Like, all the changes are nice, but they're just not big enough. Yeah. And I think that's the core issue.
They feel like just quality of life things that should have been changed after beta, after open beta, couple, in update 1 or 2 after early access started, update 1 or 2 after official launch. Like, why are we still tweaking guild features at this point? The guild stuff should have been figured out. 900 bajillion other games already do this the right way. Just steal the damn thing from them at that point. Blizzard makes a career off of doing exactly that. And I will say this. If you don't know Mr. Sharps, when he says that he goes back to a game every once in a while and gives it another, once over to see, Zach Sharps does not go back to a game and play it for 3 hours and say, When Zach Sharps is talking about, I'm going to go back to a game and give it a second shot now that it's been out for a year or 6 months or a year and a half, or they put a new expansion out or whatever, he logs at least 80 hours into the MFO.
Yes.
Even if after hour 3 he hates it, the dude logs 60 to 80 hours in there to that second shot.
I gotta have an educated opinion on why I hate it, Mike.
Hey, I'm not faulting you. I do the same thing myself. That's why I love watching some of your tweets when you're like, oh, I'm going to jump into BDO again. And I'm like, here we go. I'm going to have something to watch.
Descent into madness. Here we go.
I did exactly that when he got back into Lord of the Rings Online about a year ago. When I started watching his tweets every day.
Yep.
You're just waiting for the moment. Oh, yep, mine's more. Yep, he's done.
Yep, he's done. He's done. Yep. Before we leave the content update, Jason, Apex Legends getting ready to kick off the Old Ways event, kind of a new lore event. Is this a big deal for Apex fans?
I mean, they've been doing these about every few months. The last one they did was the Mirage thing around the Christmas season, which had that creepy kind of interaction at the Video Game Awards, but we won't talk about that one. But yeah, it's sort of like how Fortnite will do an event every now and then, and that's sort of what this is for this, which it's a little more interesting because apparently you actually will have to be fighting occasional, what is it, like nasty. Well, Bloodhound is the main character, and he has to fight, or you're going to go into this area and fight these monsters, hounds or wolves or whatever they are. If you beat them, you can go and get better loot. So it's kind of adding a little bit of a PvE section to the game. So that's kind of interesting.
Apex Legends fans, if you're playing, let us know what you think of the Old Ways event. Speaking of Battle Royales, it's time to say so long to no one's favorite. I just was going to try and be gentler, but I really couldn't. Skyforge is... Right now, they would much rather you listen to me talk about the headline where they are putting on their 5th anniversary content stuff right now. That has started, I believe, today and is on consoles tomorrow or something like that, this week. But that's, great. Go ahead and check it out. What we'll be talking about is that they are disabling their Battle Royale mode. And if you didn't know they had a Battle Royale mode, you could be forgiven for not knowing that, because it was kind of a separate game in the launcher. I did a first look on specifically just the Battle Royale when it came out. It is closing down. It might come back, though. It might come back, though, Jason. What the hell?
You know, I feel like this is their way of shutting it down, but not really shutting it down by not admitting their failure. If by saying we could bring this back, we're just temporarily disabling it. Temporary being, next 24 years or whatever. But it could come back.
Skyforge will last how long?
I know. As if human civilization will last that long. But yeah, I that's what I think. Honestly, I think it's not coming back. I think it looked. It looked like it looked bad when you played it. I can't imagine what they could have done in 2 years to make it even more popular, or a year, or whatever it's been. So it was probably even worse then, and I just don't see it coming back.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. We've got Jason, Zach. We've talked about this before. The three of us, like wanting a battle royale in a more fantasy type setting instead of running around with assault rifles and launchers. Let's do things with magic. Let's do things with melee, sword and board type combat and stuff like that. We have Skyforge that kind of tried to go in that direction, a little more sci-fi than we were probably talking about just because of the nature of Skyforge, but was very fantasy based. Then we had Ashes of Creation Apocalypse, go exactly in that. Nobody seems to get this right, and it certainly wasn't Skyforge. It wasn't great when it launched. It was really boring when it launched, actually. And my first look, a lot of it was just walking. I mean, that was literally all you did because nobody was there. All right, I'll just keep walking and searching for shit. They didn't really do much to enhance it beyond that, and so nobody played the damn thing. They might bring it back as its own standalone, a separate event. So maybe something we'll see once a year, every 3 weeks or something. I think that would just be really dumb. But hey, I've also seen dumber across the board here. Zach, when is somebody gonna get right a battle royale in a fantasy setting rather than a guns a-blazing setting? Somebody's got to get it right at some point.
When someone actually makes a standalone game for it. I mean, every single one, forgive me if I may have forgotten one, has been just someone polishing a turd and making it a battle royale game. I mean, you have Skyforge, a game that wasn't that great to begin with. You can go back on past episodes where I just ravage it, but you can't just take a game that is built for something else and try and just slap battle royale on it and expect it to work easily, especially something that's in the fantasy genre. It's a lot easier with a shooter, but with the fantasy genre, you have to play towards the mechanics that you've already created. And so when BDO did it, it didn't really make sense and didn't really play that well. And then you also have Skyforge, didn't really make sense, didn't really play that well. So it's just going to take someone building from the ground up a game that is fantasy based, that is a battle royale game. Then they can finally craft enough mechanics around a battle royale genre that will make sense and then will play well. I mean, that's really what it's going to take. But I don't think a lot of these developers think that there's a market for it because no one's really actually had a good attempt at making one.
Let me ask this. I'm not a PUBG player, but did either of you take part in the limited fantasy battle royale mode that they had for the first week of April? No?
I'm not even aware of that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They did fantasy battle royale is from April 1st through the 7th, where they had spells and barbarian classes and stuff like that. So we had the barbarian, we had the ranger, we had the wizard, we had the paladin. It was a goofy, April Fool's type event, but I didn't play it. So if somebody played that, let me know if that scratched that itch. Also, P.S. in the news this week, Blitzchung's suspension is up, Jason.
Yeah, Blitzchung, if you remember, was the Hearthstone professional player 6 months ago. Raised all sorts of hell by doing his pro Hong Kong message after a tournament in China, or actually in Taiwan, and very, very abruptly was banned for a year. But then they knocked it back down to 6 months, and that 6 months was October 6th. So I guess Monday, April 6th, that was his 6-month anniversary. So he is now free to do whatever he wants. He can rejoin professional Hearthstone, and by all indication, he's probably going to, but. I haven't heard anything. I just checked his Twitter again today to see if there's anything else about it, but I've not heard him make any kind of statements since that one interview we covered back in January. But he's free to do it if he wants to.
And now he's got new expansion cards to play with.
Yeah, that's not going over well with the fans. I'm seeing.
Really? What's going on?
Apparently, Demon Hunter is really overpowered.
Is it really? Well, I mean, I'm not shocked by this.
Just like in World of Warcraft when it really.
That's what I saw. Yeah.
All right, before we get over to the weekly bombs here, and we'll keep an eye on Blitzchung's return to Hearthstone, and the casters still have a little while to go, right? They still have like 6 months.
Yeah, they got knocked down to a year. From lifetime to a year.
From lifetime to a year.
That's even better. I mean, get it cut in half, but, these guys could live another 60, 70 years. So, they got it really cut down.
Before we slide over to the weekly bombs, we did do a first look for Bless Unleashed. That is the free-to-play MMORPG that is an Xbox One exclusive at the moment. By the way, probably always going to be an Xbox One exclusive. There are no public plans to bring this to any other platform right now. If that changes from NeoWiz or Bandai Namco, we will let you know. But for right now, it's Xbox One only. And this is one that it turned out after I did the first look, I was really glad I waited on this one. Initially, I had both Bless Unleashed and Phantasy Star Online 2 on my plate kind of in the same 3 or 4 day span there. And so really wanted to get Phantasy Star Online 2 out because I was looking forward to it, and I know a lot of other people were, and Bless Unleashed took a back seat there. So I played some Bless Unleashed, and Jason, we've talked about it many times where I just I'm not having fun, but am I having fun? I don't know with this game. As I continued to get more and more and more into it over the course of the following week or two, it really started to get some hooks in me, and I'm going to play it tonight. As soon as we're done here. I've done my daily stuff for Phantasy Star Online 2. I played it for 2.5 hours on stream today. I'm kind of done today. I'm going to go play some Bless Unleashed. It's really starting to dig its claws into me a little bit. It's weird to say, what does it, though? Because story-wise, it's run-of-the-mill fantasy story, nothing huge and earth-shattering. The way it's delivered, questing-wise, it's all very linear, quest hub to quest hub to quest hub, as you go through the story. There is more open-worldy stuff to do that you can do at the same time or just, save for endgame, but the story delivery and the quest lines, very linear. You really have to like the combat, which is combo-based. Think Terra action-y, but not as responsive as that, and not nearly as ability smothered as something like Terra is. So none of those things in particular are I love this game because of that. I think generally what it is the sense that it feels harder. Not that combat's hard or anything like that, but that you really have to earn, or at least you feel like you have to earn, not just your levels, but your gear. And if you want to get, it doesn't just smother you with loot, Zach, and just give you that, all right, you're level 30, now let's start dropping rares. All right, you're level 50, now let's just start smothering you with legendaries. I'm really getting, it's got that old school feel of when you accomplish something, you feel like you accomplished it. Not that it was just what naturally happens at level 30. I don't know. You guys, your take on having watched some of the first look. I don't know if you watched it all. It was very long, and if it's a game that doesn't interest you, then you're not going to watch the whole thing, and that's fine. But from what you guys have seen, Jason, what are your initial thoughts?
First of all, did you see my comment in our chat? Well, it was while you were streaming, but you've got to stop saying at the first look.
Yeah, I did see
looking
that.
at for 15, 20 minutes. It was 27. It was 27 minutes when you first attacked a mob.
Yep. Because I was going. This was an
in-depth. You spent
one.
8 minutes getting past the character creator.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, admittedly, I skipped probably the first half.
And that's totally fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah. It's I just want to see combat, Mike.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I'll agree that I think the combat looks pretty cool. I wouldn't mind having a combat system like that.
And I got totally sidetracked, by the way, in the recording, is what happened.
No,
there.
really?
Yeah, totally. No, right off the bat, I do character creation. I jump in, and I was like, oh shit, I'm in the main town. There's some things that I should probably just touch on real quickly here and point out before we leave the main town to go do combat. Because that's normally what I like to do in a first look, is hit character creation and then go out in the field and quest while we're talking about general stuff. And then, do the opposite of what I did with the Bless Unleashed one. And then, hey, if you want to stick around, let's go back to town and talk about some of the menus and the cash shop and all that stuff. This one, there was so many, okay, wait, I got to mention this because this is related to cash shop currency, and you're going to want to know this, and it's not going to make sense if I come back and do it. And it got asked backwards. I want combat to be at the beginning. I'm sorry, it happens, but whatever. Go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, I like the combat aspect of it. I didn't like almost everything else to some degree.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because, I mean, especially you're talking about the inventory and the nightmare that is. You touched upon currencies, like 4 different currencies and the stuff you got to do to go back and forth to get different, transfer this and that. It's like I actually watched a video last night about pachinko. And in Japan, gambling is actually illegal. So in pachinko, what you do is when you cash in your balls and you get a certificate, you have to go to a separate building to get cash for it. Because then it's not on the site, so they're not actually doing gambling there. That's what I thought about when I saw you having to buy gold to get the gems to put in your pot to put that in the auction house, whatever the heck it was. So yeah, maybe it's inspired by that. Maybe they have that pachinko thought to them. But yeah, stuff like that. Stuff like, what else did I take a note on here? Oh yeah, an XP penalty for when you tag someone else's mob.
I really like.
Yeah.
No, we don't want you to actually play together in our MMORPG. Just solo all the time.
Well, if you're partied, then it doesn't happen.
Yeah, but that's still so.
Yep.
2004. I mean, God.
Yeah, and it is very. It's also the other way too. Like if you're walking around by yourself and you're level 15, if you hit monsters that are greater than 1 level down or 1 level up, you are experience penalized too. So there's not. You can't even be like, okay, I'm level 15. Let me do a little grinding so that I can roll through content. I'm gonna go. I have no problem killing these level 17 or 18 things, so I'm just gonna go farm them. It doesn't behoove you to do that because they're 1 or 2 levels above you, and so you're suffering an experience penalty. You might as well stick to the content or find a group of level-like things to go and kill. It actually hurts you in some of those world event type things too. There'll be a random, big boss monster, Guild Wars 2 style. Here's a dragon in the middle of the world. Everybody, jump on it and kill it all together. They'll do stuff like that. Those happen all over the place. They're not as rare as they are in Guild Wars 2. But if they are beyond your gear score, you'll get a little flag that says you really shouldn't take this thing on. You're not gear score appropriate. And that's fine. But just the act of you being in there and combating the big baddie hurts the rest of the players that are there, because the boss's hit points and power is generated based on looking at how many players are there. So even though you can't do adequate damage, it's treating you as one more player in the tabulation of how many hit points this boss should have when it spawns. So you're actually hurting you're forcing everybody else to work a little harder because you can't offset the amount of hit points you added to the boss simply by being there because you're not gear score appropriate to be on there. Inventory was a nightmare, and it still is. I hate the way this game handles inventory.
You missed one of the chests going by. I saw that during an earlier part of the game. I was like, I wonder what that is. Why did he not do it?
Yeah, I saw it in the playback. I was talking about something else and didn't watch it. So I did end up getting a chest in the video, but it was a different chest. Zach, have you checked this one out at all?
No, I don't have an Xbox, and if it came to PC, I probably would, because, I mean, it looks like a bit more of a polished Bless Online, but I don't know whether or not that curiosity would last more than, maybe 5 hours.
Yeah.
I would probably get bored, maybe a little less than that, sort of just a weekend try and play type thing that doesn't really turn into anything. That's kind of what it looks like to me, because everything I saw in the video that you produced wasn't exactly special. It just was all right, and I think that it will survive on consoles at least. I don't think it will thrive.
I can't even argue with you, Zach. You're dead on. There is nothing special about the game. There isn't, if you said, what is the defining feature of Bless Unleashed, and I wasn't allowed to say it's one of the only MMOs where I've seen heavy combat-based attacking. Yes, Terra has combo, but this is sheer combo. If I wasn't allowed to say that, I'd be like,
yeah.
I mean, so I don't know, how long it's going to stick with me, how long I'm going to enjoy it, what endgame is like. I mean, I am enjoying the rewarding aspect. I am enjoying the Bless Souls feel of it. It's got a very Dark Souls in. You might spend half an hour fighting one monster because you've got to stay out of things and things like that. So it's got that type of feel to it. But I don't know how long it will stick because everything else is pretty, At some point, do I get bored of having to earn it in a game that is just like everything else, I don't know.
It's got a 56 critic review on Metascore with a 6.9 user score. So like a little above average, but and only 20 user scores, which is kind of surprising to me for just about any new game to only have that few people. So.
Yeah, and with that few scores, you would think that they would be either review bombed into a 1, or it would be all the people that love the game trying to review bomb it into 9 and 10. Even the 20 people that took the time to go on there are just like, meh. 5. All right, let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. Zach, what's up? What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I got a dub bomb for Path of Exile. I mean, if you have me on Steam, I've been playing it pretty much nonstop. I think I probably logged at least like over 100 hours in it since my return. And it's just a blast. I mean, I apparently haven't played it for at least a year and a half, if not 2 years. I thought I played it like a year ago, but apparently I sort of added up the leagues, and the last time I played was when the Atlas was introduced, and that was a long time ago. Ever since then, you've had the Delve League, you had the Metamorphosis League, the Syndicate League, the Abyssal League, the however many leagues. And the cool thing about it is the game has pretty much all those components still in the game. So the gameplay loop went from what I experienced back when the Atlas first released is somewhat repetitive, but still enjoyable, to absolutely amazing, because you have systems that still exist, like the Delve League, where it has basically a brand new game for you to explore that requires you to think differently about how you might want to build a character. And there's even characters that are solely sort of more delve oriented and just try and go into the darkness as much as possible, which damages you if you don't know. And the longer you're in it, the more damage it does. And it's a really cool system and idea that they keep the elements of the league that are the most prominent and feature rich, and they keep that within the total package, so that way there's a lot of gameplay loops and it keeps things fresh and enjoyable. And I still discover things that I'm like, oh, that's a thing, constantly, and I've been playing it nonstop. So I don't know when I'm going to run out of stuff. I'm like, oh, that's new. But I think it's going to take a while, and I've enjoyed it a lot. I re-rolled my character completely I think 2 or 3 nights ago, and so the game feels even more fresh now. I'm on my 3rd character basically now because of that. So yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a lot. Nice. 1% A-bomb though for performance issues. There's been a lot of crashes, a lot of latency issues. I'm not sure how much the latency issues are due to COVID. And the intensity that are being put on servers across the world, but it's been a little annoying to say the least.
That's a lot of leagues, Jason. It sounds like 20,000 leagues.
No, I can't make a joke. Sorry.
All right, I'm going to give a cautious, tentative dub bomb to Bless Unleashed for the moment. I
feel like we've been here before.
We have been here before. Last time it didn't work out so hot. I'm kind of getting sucked into it a little bit. And Zach just gave a 1% A-bomb for performance issues. I got to give the servers a huge A-bomb to them. And it's not just, COVID server over the servers for Bless Unleashed are a fucking mess. There is no way to say that any better. Late last week, there was an exploit there was an exploit
in Bless
with
what?
The cash shop currency and some I don't know what it was because I came on after. It was like a duplication or a exploitation of buying buffs and applying them, so things like that. So anyway, what they did was they shut the servers down for emergency maintenance to fix it, and then they they locked a bunch of accounts. Jason, you saw that users were getting the Bless Unleashed message that their account was banned, and it wasn't banned. That was just the default message for locked accounts, and they had locked a bunch of accounts so they could go fix this exploit and then open them back up. So over the course of late last week into the weekend, they were doing this, opening accounts as they went through and fixing this bug. Their servers have gone down almost every day since Friday. Almost every day. Last night, I got on, 10 minutes in, boop, servers are going to go down in 5 minutes for maintenance. And I go to the Twitter to look, and sure enough, emergency maintenance, estimate to be an hour. Okay, an hour later. We need at least another hour. Okay, another hour. We need probably one more hour. They came up 3 hours later. They were... The night before, I was on at like midnight Eastern time, so not prime time, but not super like 3 a.m. either. They just randomly went down. They were down for 45 minutes while they tried to figure out what was wrong and bring them back up. I mean, the servers are just really bad.
You sure you weren't playing Wolfson?
Yeah, I'm sure. I own that.
It took inspiration.
I own that. I played for like a day, and I was like, yeah, I'll come back.
Yeah,
I'll come back. Jason, go ahead.
I'm going to give it an A-bomb. Second week in a row, Valorant gets mentioned in my A-bombs, but this time it's for its record-breaking Twitch viewership, which
it did break records, man.
Yeah, like 34 million or whatever consistent viewers or whatever. But it's only because you tied it to making people get into an alpha or their beta or whatever. If you bribe people, yes, you can get them to watch your streams. So. Whatever. Take your record, take it, and put it in the same place that put that PlanetSide 2 record from last week.
Put that trophy right up there.
Yeah.
From the viewers, Georgie Brodsky says, in regards to Valorant, you had to watch people who had access to the early streamer event on the 3rd of April, which was about 300 people. But on the 7th, you just need to watch any Valorant stream, even if it's just a random one-viewer stream, talking about what Jason was saying, how to get beta access.
I think that was yesterday. They said, which was the 7th, which said they had their big thing or whatever.
I'm quite fine with it for the simple reason that this game has a huge amount of people waiting to play. If you let everyone have access to it from the start, the servers are very unlikely to hold it all together. Twitch drops basically allow you to give access to the most amount of players in a time-gated way so your servers will be able to hold it. And you know what? I would agree with you if there wasn't technology that existed that allowed you to say, are you interested in beta? Sign up, and then I will send out the keys as I see fit to make sure that my servers don't explode.
It's not like you're going to take everybody when they send you an email or sign up or whatever. Yeah, it was unnecessary.
Go ahead, Jason.
Rigordi says, at me, young Jedi, let me know what card I might have it. I had one of the rare Jar Jar Binks, but traded it for it's not something other than him of equal rarity. Long run, probably not the best move on my part. So I think he's talking about the card that my character from the game was. I think he's actually a common too. His name is Corix Ven. He's a Bith musician. So my character was actually a human, but he was still a musician, so that's why he got in the thing. But he's spelled wrong because in the game he's spelled Corix. But my character was Corrix, 2 R's, and I was so angry at the designers for that. But what are you gonna do?
Corix
they didn't ask me to proofread it.
That was a Bith musician.
Yes,
who was seen in Mos Espa around 32 BBY. He later became a cultural scientist and studied Jawas. While in Mos Espa during 32 BBY, Ven wore a coarse weave beige long sleeve tunic with a black belt with a gold buckle.
Are you reading off Wikipedia?
I'm reading it off of the Wikipedia.
Yeah. Nice.
Trying to find
I didn't know that. I actually am not aware of his backstory. I know Chief Retwin's backstory much better, but.
So, all right, go ahead, Zach. Take the next one.
Piana Masta, cup of Yorkshire tea for Spiff and a new record, or a new record. I
have no idea what you're saying to us.
Any idea what that means?
Yeah, I don't know what that was either. But...
I wanted to put that in there just so you'd have to explain it to us on next week's show. I'm a duck STFU, which that is a brilliant name. If you actually just say STFU, I'm a duck. Shut the fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I edited the word up.
We're demonetized.
Said the F word, but edited the word up. In regards to Valorant, again, I think giving us advice here. In the 3rd, you had to watch people who played in the streamer access. On the 7th, you need to watch any Valorant stream, no matter who and what, even if it's one viewer stream, as long as it's as streaming Valorant.
Well, if only they'd have sent that out along with all the other things they told us about how to tease. But I didn't know that.
That was not in any of the press releases we received from Riot. Question of the week last week. Which are you looking forward to more, assuming they both released in your region? Blue Protocol or Elion, formerly Ascent Infinite Realm, or Air? Why? Tikal2399 says, I'll try Blue Protocol for no other reason than it has controller support. If an MMO does not support controllers right out of the box, I don't give them much time. No gamepad support is the reason I never played World of Warcraft and only play Guild Wars 2 for like 2 to 3 hours a month. Wow, you are heavy on the I will not play it if it doesn't have controller support. Usually it's the other way around. Like even Bless
Definitely
Unleashed.
a selling point for me.
Oh, no doubt. But I'm not going to not play a game because it doesn't have it.
For an action-based game, like Bless Unleashed or Terra or something, I could see it. But I don't know. Typical like tab target MMO, I just don't think I'd really need it. But
Zach, since you're the guest, you can do the other one.
Breckner Catalan, question of the week. Let's see. From what I could tell after a quick Google search, Ascent Infinite Realm uses Unreal 3. Blue Protocol uses Unreal 4. Unreal 3 in 2021. No thanks. Can't argue with that.
Yeah, that's a hard argument to fight against. I don't know what I can do. I can do that for you. Graphics shouldn't matter.
Although Lost Ark uses Unreal 3 as well.
Right, and when you
it's fine.
Yeah, right. But the engine has so much more to do than just graphics.
True. Yeah.
Question of the week. Now that you've checked it out on streams on the 3rd or the 7th, or maybe even played it, what are some of your initial thoughts on Valorant? Let us know in the comments below. While you're there, give us your weekly bomb, dub bomb for something good, a bomb for something bad in the world of gaming, or your question for the panel, or in life in general. Let us know in the comments below, and maybe it'll make it to next week's show. Until then, Zach, where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me at Zach Sharps on Twitter. You can watch my descent into madness whenever I'm playing a particular new game.
Jason.
Find me on Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at magicman1. But more importantly, follow MMO Bomb at MMO Bomb, and check us out on Twitch. We are back doing our streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/MMO Bomb every weekday, Monday through Friday at 2 Eastern. We're streaming for 2 to 3 hours. Come hang out. We've done it the last 2 days. I'll be there tomorrow. This week we're playing some Phantasy Star Online 2. Next week we're looking at Bless Unleashed if enough people want to see it. We could do some other games as well, but it will always be free to play if you want to come and hang out. Join us there. Until next week, stay safe, and we'll see you out on the servers.